The Steelers Fix starts now.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back into another episode of the Steelers Fix podcast here on the Steel Curtain Network. Jeremy Betz, Andrew Wilbar, Corey Eckenroth, all with you here on the week of the Steelers' first action of the preseason, coming to you Thursday live on NFL Network against the Packers at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will preview that briefly here on the show, but eventually we are going to get into our maybe our last offseason draft, quote unquote, for the Steelers Fix here. We do a couple of these in different styles throughout the year, but this one is going to be drafting the best Steelers players, basically the starting 22 plus a couple of rotational guys that we like, and it ends up being mostly the top 24 players on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. And I'm excited for it. Andrew, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm getting ready for a fantasy draft I have tonight. I was just kind of a startup league, a redraft league I was going to start. And little did the people know when they signed up for the league, I thought when it sent them the invite that it was that like it will usually tell you what type of scoring it is. And I thought I was compromising by doing half PPR. And everyone has been pounding me for the last 2 hours. What? I didn't know this was half PPR. You're such an old person. You're such a blank. And I'm getting hammered for half PPR.
What, they want full PPR experience or nothing? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they want full PPR. So I countered. I'm like, okay, if we're going to do full PPR, we're going to give at least a quarter of a point per completion to the quarterback. And nobody's voted for it.
Whoa. A quarter point per completion to the quarterback.
If you're going to give a receiver credit for catching the football, which is the most basic part of their job, the quarterback should at least get a portion of that for completing the pass because he's doing just as much, if not more, to actually get the ball there.
Yeah, but the quarterback's going to complete like 25 balls, and a receiver's only going to get like 10 targets.
Why does each position have to score the exact same? It's still like in terms of value, the depth is still going to be the same amongst each position.
Okay, Andrew, we need to have this conversation. Corey, welcome into the constant PPR versus standard scoring battle between myself and Andrew Wilbar.
Well, I'm thinking as you guys are arguing this out, I'm thinking we should probably do quarter point for an attempt and then half point for a completion. Because how many passes actually get dropped by those receivers that we're talking about?
Now you guys are off the deep end. I'm canceling this. You guys do the draft. I'm gonna go play Madden or something. I'm gonna go work with normal people in the fantasy space. No, let's do this. We're going to do a quick preview of the upcoming matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers at Acrisure Stadium on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Like I said, we're all going to be watching. Steelers Nation's going to be tuning in across the nation. I read, Corey, that the Hall of Fame game had like 7.5 million viewers on average throughout the course of the game, which was more than any MLB game this year and more than any NHL game last year.
Listen, if you're going to talk about the MLB, I think that their league's heading for a lockout after this season. So everybody's starting to lose interest in that because it's the Dodgers and everybody else fighting for a World Series. But I will say this: if they're able, if a preseason game between the Panthers and the Cardinals are able to top, let's say, the Stanley Cup Finals of the NHL, that's saying something. I mean, these people are starving for the NFL. They have to be doing something right. I mean, their earnings are off the charts every year, $2 billion plus. I mean, they're a juggernaut that just keeps rolling, regardless of how much conflict there is with the rules and the referees.
Yeah, we're a bunch of sickos. That's what we are. And I mean, I called it on social media. I call it the Beckett Bowl. 7.5 million viewers to watch Carson Beck and Kenny Pickett. That's pretty crazy. It turned
That's
into
crazy.
a pretty good show, though, overall, and it was exciting. Let's dive into the. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say it turned into the Haynes King show, which
Yeah.
I gave him props during the draft. So I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying
those Georgia Tech quarterbacks.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
Taysom Hill 2.0.
I mean, he's going to have a role for the Panthers this year, or at least be like a very valuable backup piece because of what he can do. So that'll be interesting to watch. I think he got hurt though, so he needs to get healthy again. All right, let's preview this Steelers-Packers matchup real quick, and we'll do it this way. Andrew, who is one player, non-quarterback, because we talk about the quarterbacks all the time, who is one non-quarterback on the Steelers that you are looking forward to watching the most on Thursday night?
I would go with Brandon Eccles if he is healthy from that ankle injury that he had suffered in practice. I think that with the performance that we've seen from Samuel, from Everett, from some of these other guys that are really right on his heels to be able to get time in the slot, he's got to prove in this first preseason game that he's as good as what he was in the early portion of last year. He started to tail off a little bit toward the end of last year. So this is going to be a very big test for him in week one. Most likely probably playing at the beginning of the game in the first half when the better players are playing anyways. So this is going to be a big test for him. I think he needs to play well if he wants to keep his job in the slot.
It does sound like that the Packers are going to play Jordan Love and some of their starters early in the game. It does sound like the Steelers, and we're waiting on official word. We might get that while we're recording here. So if we do, we'll put an update out there. But official word on the Steelers plan. But it sounds like it's going to be Mason Rudolph for a couple series, and then the Drew Aller and Will Howard show the rest of the way, which is kind of what we're hoping for. Corey, outside of those quarterbacks, who's a guy that you've got your eye on for the Steelers?
I'm actually going to cheat on this one. I've got a position group, and it's because of Patrick Graham, the new DC coming in. There's inside linebackers. Patrick Graham's schemes over the last couple of years, and all the teams that he's been with, has really put an emphasis on being able to give those middle linebackers a role that really sets them up to rack up the tackles. And that's exactly where the weak point for the Steelers team has been for the last couple of years. So if Patrick Graham's able to come in with his schemes and give Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson new life in their roles and, make them huge contributors instead of also rans, then this is something I got to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Peyton Wilson was going to be my guy, but since you did the linebacker group, I think I'm going to look at Jeremy Bernard and say, let's see what you got, man. Let's see what you can do, because I think he's going to get an extended look with both quarterbacks probably. Heck, maybe all three quarterbacks. He might play the majority of the game into the third quarter or deep into the third quarter, at least, because – it sounds like both DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. will not play in the upcoming game. So we'll see how that plays out. I put Jeremy Bernard in my 11 things I want to see out of the Pittsburgh Steelers in week one of the preseason article that ran on Thursday. So check that out. Love to see him score a touchdown. That's kind of the specific thing I put down, but want to see him make plays from the outside and the inside and see how the Steelers do that. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into this Steelers draft where we're drafting the 22 starters and a couple of the best relief players, if you will. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here on the Steelers Fix podcast after this. Welcome back to the Steelers Fix podcast. Jeremy Betz, Andrew Wilbar, Corey Eckenroth. Let's get into this draft. We are doing a snake draft. And our pre-show discussion landed Andrew Wilbar the first overall pick, followed by myself picking second. And Corey gets the third pick and then the fourth pick on the turn. And we will do it this way. So let's do this, Andrew. Who, in your estimation, is the best player on the Steelers roster? Who are you taking number one overall here?
Despite unpopular belief, I'm going with TJ Watt here. I'm still sticking with the OG, the face of this franchise still, even though Aaron Rodgers is here. Watt is the guy who's been here. He's done that. He has given everything he's gotten for this city. and we'll see if he can hang around through whatever this restructure rebuild ends up looking like, and he can maintain some sort of role on this team, even if it's in his later years and he's just really a rotational guy at best. Like, I would love to see him somehow win a Super Bowl.
I was kind of hoping he'd be there at 2 for me, because I thought that could be like, maybe, like you said, maybe a little bit unpopular at 1, but he's still good enough where I think he's going to be a really big part of this team. And so I like that. I think it's tough to argue that. At number 2, I'll go with Cam Hayward. I'll go with Captain Cam. I think he's been the most consistent player on the roster for the last 3 seasons. He's always in the all-pro conversation. He really was a top 3 defensive lineman last year, interior defensive lineman last year in his age 35 season. And just Father Time has only made him stronger so far. And I think that's going to continue into this year. I'm going to take him at number 2 and feel pretty good about that with my first pick of the draft.
I like it. I mean, especially because, well, I thought that in this draft, I was going to consider it for a 1 year only. And when you consider what Cam Hayward has done over the last couple of years and what he is still doing at his age, 38 years old, I mean, he is crushing it. And, college genetics, his dad played late into his career. Now Cam is too. He's managed to stay injury free. I have no problems with that. So at number 3, I got a newer guy. I got one of the young guns, Zach Frazier.
Yes.
Zach Frazier, number 3, cornerstone of this franchise coming up. He's going to provide the centerpiece of this line. He's going to provide a lot of stability for the line for the years to come. And he's already one of the top 5 centers in the league. Top 3. I'll say top 3. I don't have any problem saying that. And how could you not build a franchise around a guy like that?
Yeah.
So coming around the corner, another young guy on defense here that you can build a defense around, especially if you want to leave him out on an island. JPJ.
Yeah,
he's going to be fighting for his contract, but he deserves every single cent of it. I think that just because nobody's been talking about him does not diminish from what he's done and what he's earned. This guy is an absolute stud on the outside. I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, he's probably as good. I'll say it. He's probably as good as Revis was in his prime. And JPJ is only going to get stronger as he continues growing and continues perfecting his craft.
That's a strong take on the Revis take. I think that as lockdown corners, they're in similar veins, but Revis Island is untouchable in my opinion. But Andrew, Joey Porter Jr. was your number 1 corner in that draft, and falling to pick 32 was kind of a dream scenario for the Steelers. Zach Frazier, I don't remember so much your evaluation of him. What do you think of Corey's 2 picks here?
I can't argue with either of them. I like Zach Frazier. I wasn't as high on him as Shannon White was, and some of the other ones were at Steel Curtain Network, but I liked him. I had a mid-second round grade on him. I wasn't saying, if the Steelers have to take him late first, you can take him there. But I liked him. I thought he was a good pick, really good pick, and he's exceeded any expectation I've had. I would say he's top. I would put him in the top 5 to 6 centers. I don't know that I would put him top 3 yet, but it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue other guys that are in that same range as him. So I can't really disagree. I can't give a strong argument against that.
I would project him as the number 2 guy in the league by the end of this year. I think he's top 3 right now. So I do agree with Corey from that perspective on Frazier. At number 5 here, it's a tough choice for me between 2 guys, but I'm going to go with DK Metcalf here. And I'm mixed on DK Metcalf in the overall landscape of NFL wide receivers. I think he's a low end one because he can't do as many things well as the Jamar Chases and Justin Jeffersons and Puka Nakuas and things like that, where it's just you line him up wherever and ask him to run whatever route, and he can do that. You have to utilize him in a specific way. And because of his limitations from that perspective, I can't put him with the top receivers across the league. But as a number one in an offense that knows how to utilize that skill set, absolutely, he's there. He's absolutely dominant at what he does well. And so I'm willing to take him here at number 5, even though it was close between him and one other guy. Andrew, I'm curious to see where you go from here.
There's a couple guys that I'm so tempted to go with, but it might be just a little bit too bold. Okay. So with one of my picks here, I'm just making sure I'm not missing anyone. I'm going to go with Troy Fautanu here.
Yeah, I think that I was debating between. Yeah,
I'm going to go with him here. Last year, now that he finally has a year where he was fully healthy, he wasn't battling any nagging injuries. I think he's put to silence a lot of the concerns that he had coming out about chronic, severe knee injuries. And, we'll see what happens this year. But I think I'm excited about him moving to the left side. I think he's capable of manning the left side. And I mean, if the Washington Commanders, I'm calling to see what the Broderick Jones price tag is, just to see, because that's a team that desperately needs some offensive line help, especially with Jaden Daniels in the backfield. But all that aside, I would go with Fautanu there. The next one is interesting because, Jeremy, I know if it gets back to you, I know who you're going to take. At least I think I know who you're going to take. Okay. But there's one guy that I feel that he might make it all the way back to me on my next. He's not going to. So I'm just going to take him here. Pat Freiermuth.
Oh.
I'm taking Pat Freiermuth here. Ooh. And here's why. If you are just building a team and putting together guys that from every aspect of the game, from work ethic to consistency to locker room personality to leadership to everything that you want in a player to off-field excellence, Pat Freiermuth is that in every aspect of it. And I believe we've talked about this before on the DDP, even how he is maybe the most underutilized tight end in football. If you put him on Kansas City, if you put him even in Baltimore and as a Mark Andrews replacement, I mean, this guy is immediately considered one of the top fantasy tight ends. And I know fantasy is different than real life, but he is so underrated from every aspect of his game. People think that he is just some absolutely horrendous blocker that's like a 230-pound guy going out there that doesn't know anything. He's not a mauler. He's not going to run you over. But as a positional blocker in his own scheme, he can hold his own. He can fend defenders off. He's not going to push them 10 yards down the field. He's not going to pancake block someone. But he's sufficient in that area. And better than what the Steelers had before that at tight end when we were going through all the Ladarius Greens and Eric Ebrons of the world and everyone like that. He has provided so much consistency there, and I think it's gone under the radar just because the Steelers have not utilized him well. I mean, if Ben Roethlisberger was the quarterback, still, Pat Freiermuth would be way more relevant in this offense. If it was just a different system in general, it's just the Steelers have not prioritized it, and the quarterback position has been very bad for several years. Put him in most other teams, he would be widely considered as an upper echelon tight end, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think a top 10 talent at tight end, no doubt, but the utilization has just not been there. So it's very.
I got the question. I got the good question.
Okay.
I got the awesome question. If Ben Roethlisberger is still the quarterback of this team, who has the higher trajectory career between him and Heath Miller?
Oh, in today's league, it's
Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Heath was utilized so much as a blocker. He was really a tertiary or even fourth option in the passing game most of his career.
When you have AB, that's not hard to do.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they had Hines and Santonio. They were
Mike Wallace.
Yeah, Mike Wallace cycling through receivers. And I mean, one year they had like everybody. They had Santonio Holmes, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown. They had literally everybody on this roster. Mike Wallace. So it was tough for him. But I think like overall trajectory, Pat Freiermuth probably in Ben Roethlisberger's prime. Like if the Steelers had Muth in, let's say 2014 to 2018 in that time frame, I think that offense would have been
the killer bees
nearly unstoppable. Yeah.
Does he even get the ball?
Oh yeah, he gets the ball a lot. Because remember, they were always trying to find a tight end because they never really had one. It was Eric Ebron, and it was
That's true.
Latavius Green or Ladarius Green.
Yep.
And they just could never land the guy. So I like it, Andrew. I think it's a little early for where I would have taken him, but I do like it. And I'm not going to take the guy that you thought I was going to take next. I'm going to shock the world here. I'm taking Nick Herbig. I'm taking Nick Herbig at number 8 over Alex Highsmith, over Derek Harmon, who I think is the guy Andrew was thinking I was going to take. But I think today he is the best pure pass rusher on the Steelers. Now, he does have some other limitations. He has to win with speed in the run game, or he can get bullied off the line of scrimmage. But that will continue to develop and grow. Steelers paid him. I think Alex Highsmith is the one who becomes dispensable or expendable, not dispensable. That's the wrong word. Expendable at some point, maybe this year, probably not this year, but maybe next year. And the Steelers are ready to ride with Herbig, who is one of the more explosive by the numbers pass rushers in the league, even though he just hasn't gotten all the opportunities. So I'm taking all the stock on Nick Herbig, and I'm going to take him here at number 8 and feel really good about that. I've got Cam Hayward right now. I've got DK Metcalf, and I've got Nick Herbig as my 3 picks in the middle of this round. Corey, you're taking number 9 here, and then you'll go into number 10. But before you go to number 10, we'll stop at 9 and we'll do a quick recap.
So I had Herbig at number 6, so you didn't surprise me by much.
Okay. All right.
That dude is an absolute stud waiting to happen. He's just sitting behind 2 other dudes that are really good.
Andrew, out of curiosity, where did you have Herbig on your list?
I had him a couple more down. There's still 2 players above him that have not been taken yet.
Okay. All right. Corey, continue. Sorry.
No, not a problem. With everybody who has been taken, that actually leaves the top player on my board is Alex Highsmith.
Okay.
So I got him at number 9. I mean, the dude he plays such a great Robin to TJ Watt's Batman. He deserves every bit of the contract that he's gotten. There's been talk about who they might trade away to give Herbig more time. You know what? I'm so glad that Patrick Graham is coming in here with the scheme, because I don't think they have to make that choice anymore.
Yeah. So I'm TJ or Alex Highsmith is one of the more consistent, like all-round edge defenders in the league. He's not an elite pass rusher. He's not an elite run defender, but he is very good at both. And I mean, just a solid, like you said, Robin to TJ's Batman. Maybe we need to have TJ's obviously Batman, but somebody's got to be Nightwing, and then the other one's got to be Robin in this defense. We'll see. But all right. Okay. So Corey, your 3 players then are who? Zach Frazier.
Yep. JPJ,
and now Highsmith. Is that correct?
Yep.
And Andrew,
correct.
who are your 3 players so far?
My players were TJ Watt, Troy Fautanu, and Pat Freiermuth.
Okay. So, all right. So that was the top 9, the first 3 rounds. Let's get into round 4 here. And Corey, you're on the turn. Let's take it.
This was a really hard choice because one guy is ascending to, possibly all-pro status. The other guy is he's a stud no matter where you put him. But I gotta go with the experience here because of the scheme here. Jalen Ramsey.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey here simply because you can play him at corner, you can play him at safety, you can play him at the star role. There are so many things that Patrick Graham's going to be able to do with this guy. And I've got to take him simply because his positional flexibility. The age doesn't concern me whatsoever. He just continues to produce just like Cam Hayward does, except he's on the back end and can't have too many corners in a league like this.
Yeah, you can't. And I probably would have taken him later just because of the age, and I am a little concerned that he's not quite as built for like the late career transition to safety nickel that some of the other greats that he's compared to are. We'll see. I have hope for it, and if he is, then that makes this defense extremely dangerous. So I'm excited to see how that goes. But I'm a little bit lower on him than maybe consensus in Steeler Nation, where expectation seems to be very high. So we'll see how it plays out. But it's a good pick, Corey, at this spot, I think. I am going to go with Derek Harmon next. I just think, like, as far as ascending young talents who, like, he was almost when he was on the field last year, almost too good at like the run defense stuff to be considered like a guy who can make the leap in that category this year. He's already kind of there. Now, as a pass rusher, he needs some work. And I think that that's where he could take a leap this year. And some of the anchor stuff, some of the getting off double teams, the in-game strength, a full off season. I always say this, and it rings true across the league, but a full off season in an NFL training regimen with the weight room facilities, you're not balancing college, you're not going back home and working with your trainers, from college and high school, your friends and everything. You've got NFL nutrition, you've got a plan from the coaching staff. It's a game changer for some of these young guys, and especially a guy with his raw talent. I'm taking the over on every metric you want to throw out there for Derek Harmon this year. I'm really excited about his trajectory. And again, he was my favorite defensive lineman in the draft last year. I think that last year. Sorry. I think that he's got a chance to be a special player. Maybe not an all-pro or even a Pro Bowler this year because there's too many names at that position that he'd have to get through. But a guy who, by the time Cam Hayward's ready to go, it's very clear that he is the Cam Hayward replacement.
That was the guy that I picked besides Ramsey, so
yeah,
my vote.
All right. Andrew, your next player here. You get two in a row. What you got?
Is anybody taking Michael Pittman yet?
Nope.
I'm going to go with Michael Pittman here.
All right.
Again, I'm just
whoa. Reach is a toothbrush, sir, not a draft strategy.
Hey, if you notice the pattern of consistency through the picks, TJ is not the flashy player that he once was, but is still one of the more consistent edges. He still draws all the attention. Obviously, Fautanu developed that consistency from game to game last year from what we had seen of him as rookie before the injury. Of course, we already talked about Pat. With Pittman, it's the same thing. When I'm building it, when this is just like team building, guys that I want those guys that are not just professionals, but guys that are continuously good. And Michael Pittman, despite bad quarterback play, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers plays as good as he did last year, or even a little bit better because of an improved cast, I think we're going to see some impressive numbers from Michael Pittman because, I mean, he's played with Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, who was he played with Phillip Rivers for even a short little bit.
Hey,
but
don't you dare dog Daniel Jones last year. The number one offense and quarterback by efficiency in the league last year.
Whatever.
We'll find out for sure this year.
We'll see what happens. Daniel Jones, in all fairness, is one of the better quarterbacks Michael Pittman's played with, which isn't saying much. No. But he has been a model of consistency in an organization that's been anything but since the retirement of Andrew Luck. So I think there's a lot of value there. He's going to provide a decent route running ability on the outside, which when was the last time the Steelers had a big-bodied receiver that could actually run routes? I mean, it's been a long time since the Steelers have had someone like that could do it.
It was like 2 years of Juju. And he's not necessarily a huge body, but
right. He was moderately sized guy. So I'm going to go with Pittman there. And then just to remind me, because I had something I had to take care of as well. Who are the other picks on the comeback here? Just make sure I'm not doubling someone.
Okay, so when Corey just went?
Yes, Corey's two picks and then yours.
Yeah. Okay, so Corey took Alex Highsmith and then Jalen Ramsey, and then I took Derek Harmon.
Derek Harmon. Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna go here. This is a close one, but I'm gonna go with Deshaun. I'm gonna go with Deshaun Elliott.
Okay.
Good choice.
I'm gonna go with them here. I feel comfortable with Deshaun Elliott as my pick here. Obviously, with the injury, we'll see what he's like post. He's over 30 years old now. Maybe he takes a step back. But he was one of those guys I did not want when the Steelers brought him in. I thought he was just kind of this overrated safety that couldn't run with anyone. But he's proved me wrong. He's very strong instinctually, and he's been a good fit for the Steelers defense. So I'll take him here.
Okay. I am going to. I'm having to pick between some of my favorite guys here, but give me Jalen Warren at this point. I mean, okay. Jalen Warren is the most underrated running back in the league because he's an undrafted free agent and he's been a second, I guess like whatever the change up back for the Steelers throughout his whole entire career. And even last year when we thought, okay, this is Jalen Warren's chance to shine, he did so, but he got relegated to second fiddle again by an offensive structure and a coaching staff that would not leave him on the field for the times and roles that he is absolutely best at, and instead put Kenneth Gainwell on the field in his place. And Gainwell takes home team MVP honors last year. He leads the team in targets, and Jalen Warren quietly was more efficient as a receiver and just as efficient on the ground in true run sets, like loaded boxes and everything. He was getting all of those looks. Meanwhile, Kenneth Gainwell comes in the shotgun and is getting light boxes and 6-man boxes and things like that, and ripping off 4.6 a carry or whatever it was. And Jalen Warren's doing 4.5 with all the tight boxes and heavy personnel that he's having to run against. So this is, I think, the most untalked about but integral piece to the Steelers offense this year for them to be a great offense or even a good offense. He has to be featured. Give me some more Jalen Warren. I'm going to fight that battle until he's not with the team anymore. He needs to be the feature back. And I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity again this year with Rico Dowdle in town. So
God forbid that dude was on the Rams or the Broncos right now, because he would be tearing this league up. I mean, absolutely. Totally right there with you, Jeremy. He is one of the most underrated running backs in the league. He's never been given the chance to be a workhorse back. Mike Tomlin was still here. He might have that opportunity because that's how he'd like to deploy his running backs. But he never had that opportunity. I don't know if he'll ever get that opportunity. Should. He reminds me of Darren Sproles, but never got the opportunity like Darren Sproles did. Darren Sproles was living in LaDainian Tomlinson's shadow for a while, and then he finally got his opportunity and became a great back. I don't know if he's ever going to get. I don't know if Jalen Warren's ever going to get that opportunity to be that single back who gets the workload. He darn sure deserves it. He's proven that he can handle it. His broken tackle rate is absolutely insane. And I will say this much: to have Rico Dowdle on the team as well. This team better run the ball every dang down, because they can and they should be able to with those two backs. But I totally got to agree with you. Jalen Warren, totally deserving of every opportunity that he gets. I wish we'd run the wheels off that dude. No offense. So at number 15, since you took Jalen Warren, I'm going to go with Jamel Dean here.
Okay, good spot for him. I like that.
Yeah,
he probably could have gone higher, honestly.
That's what I would have
said. The way he
too.
played last year.
Between him and JPJ, with the stats that they had from PFF in their completions allowed, or was something like that, the percentage allowed, two of the best in the league. If Jamel Dean can stay healthy and JPJ's on the field too, we should have one of the best corner duos in the league, period. This is a great spot to get him at 15. So I'm totally down with getting him here. At number 16, boy, this is a tough one because I have a middle linebacker. I got your boy Patrick Queen here. I'm gonna do it. I want to take somebody else, but I gotta take Patrick Queen here, especially because if Patrick Graham's system is even half as decent as what I was saying earlier, that it's gonna give opportunities to highlight these middle linebackers to make plays, become playmakers. We saw what he did in Oakland with Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane led the league in tackles last year. If our middle linebackers can even do half of that, Patrick Queen's finally going to live up to his billing status in that contract.
Yeah, Yeah, I was going to take him next. That was the guy I was debating him between when I took Jalen Warren. So a good pick there. I think he has a chance to be a much improved player for the Steelers this year. All right, we're going to kind of speed through the rest of this. We're at 35 minutes here, so let's keep rolling. I guess it's me. That's next here, and I say let's keep rolling, but I don't know what to do here. Is it getting disrespectful now? I think it might be. So I'll be the one to do it. I'll take Aaron Rodgers here. This is a guy whose resume is incredible, right? And he's not.
You're going on resume?
No. Okay, so listen to my whole sentence here. Resume is incredible. However, there's been a downturn in production, obviously, and play style. But when you're talking about the players on this roster who are starters and are going to be contributing with the ball on every down, basically, I think you have to start considering Aaron Rodgers here because he's still one of the smartest players in the league. He's still one of the most talented throwers of the football in the league. Whether or not he chooses to play in a way that is honorable from the quarterback position, I think he's still very, very talented. So I'm going to play to the talent and, yes, the resume to a degree here. And I'm going to go ahead and take Aaron Rodgers and get him off the board. Andrew, what do you think?
I would have probably taken him next if you wouldn't have, to be quite honest. Okay. I think that's a fair move. I really do.
We're down to like rotational defensive linemen here and second or third and fourth corners and the second safety. I don't know. I think that Aaron Rodgers here is the guy to take. I don't know. It made sense to me. Corey, you seem to disagree.
I actually had him a lot later. If we're going for a 1-year draft based off of what they can do this year, not based off of the MVPs that he's won, like we know who Aaron Rodgers was. There is no denying that. There is no discounting that. Discount, double check. But just if it's this year for 1 year alone, I actually had him further down this list.
Fair enough. All right, Andrew, what you got here at, I think it's, somebody keep count. I think this is 17 or no.
18. We're at 18 here.
18 and 19 that you've got here.
Yep.
Okay. I'll apologize if somebody's already taken him, but somebody mentioned Peyton Wilson yet?
No, that was next guy on my list, top of the board.
I'm going to take Peyton Wilson here. I know last year didn't quite meet the expectations. I think maybe we set a little bit too high expectations last year for him in general, just in the defense. He just wasn't really set up for success. The defensive line did not, especially the interior of the defensive line, did not do a great job of keeping the middle linebackers clean. And I think that will be cleaned up a little bit this year. And just getting out of the traditional packages, being a little bit more free, I think it could all help Peyton Wilson this year. So I'm going to go ahead and take him here. And then with the other pick, is anybody taking Jaquan Brisker?
Nope.
I'm going to go with Jaquan Brisker here. I live in a kind of a suburb of Chicago, and everyone around here loved Jaquan Brisker. Like, they were very disappointed, especially when they saw the size contract that the Steelers gave him. They could not believe they did not bring him back. So I just being able to see what he has done, the fact that he hits and kind of plays with that Steelers mentality, striking fear into opposing receivers if he's coming near them. I think that's going to fit well with what the Steelers like in their defensive backs.
All right, I'm going to take a guy from Corey here, since he took Patrick Queen from me. I'm going to take Darnell Washington here. Was he next on your list, Corey?
No, he was not.
Oh,
no, he was not.
I'm going to take Darnell Washington. Another guy underutilized as a pass catcher, but definitely utilized like he should have been as a blocker last year. And now that he's slimmed up, oh my goodness, I am like champing at the bit, I think is actually the correct terminology, to see this guy in action this year at 285 or whatever he's at right now. It's got me all tingly. I'm excited to see my boy Darnell Washington, who I said when the Steelers drafted him was the guy who would be the savior of the Matt Canada offense. So I'm I mean, Corey, you talked about running the ball earlier. They should be able to. They need to be able to. This is the guy that makes that all go. As good as Jalen Warren is, as good as Zach Frazier and some of the guys on the left side are going to be for the offensive line, Darnell Washington is the key difference maker. He's the equalizer. And I think the other area where he's an equalizer is against great pass rushers. When the Steelers played the Browns last year and Darnell Washington was healthy, Myles Garrett barely sniffed the quarterback. When the Steelers did not have Darnell Washington in the second game, Myles Garrett ate the Steelers alive, and Rodgers couldn't do anything. It was abysmal. He is an absolute difference maker in both the pass and run blocking games. The equalizer on the offense, in my opinion. So I'm taking him here.
The only reason I didn't have him higher is because now he's down 40 pounds. And we don't know the type of player we're going to get. Is he going to be the type of player that absolutely mows cornerbacks down and completely destroys and punishes them? Or are we looking at a league average tight end now who's at like 265, 264 now? I'm hoping it's the former.
Still up close to 280. I think what I heard was he was at 285.
Okay.
So
285 is still a decent weight. He's still carrying a big stick. And I'm hoping it still carries into the season.
Yeah.
So
all right, you've got pick 20,
21 and 22.
21, 22. Yep.
21, 22. I got one guy who should have went way earlier than this, Rico Dowdle.
He's a good player.
We gave Jalen Warren tons of props way sooner than this. Rico Dowdle, we were talking about DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. being Batman and Robin. What kind of pairing are you going to give Rico Dowdle and Jalen Warren? But those two are going to be interchangeable throughout the season. Rico Dowdle's probably going to handle a little bit more goal line, which will allow Jalen Warren to do some more third down work, which I think he is probably way better suited at. Jalen Warren.
This is the more complementary pairing than last year's duo was, in my opinion.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think that this pairing can do a lot more damage than any pairing before. You'd have to go back a long ways to figure out the type of pairing that were so complementary to each other on the Steelers that these two are. And I think that they have a chance to do something special. There was, what was it? I think it was last year or the year before. I kept making the prediction that the Steelers running backs, both of them were going to hit 1,000 yards. These two could actually do it because they complement each other so well. Yep. And if the Steelers were to actually run the ball that much, now with Aaron Rodgers being 78 years old, there's a possibility if Mike McCarthy runs the ball that much, they quite possibly could hit 1,000 yards rushing apiece. Now, last year, Warren and Gainwell both hit 900 yards, all-purpose yards, but neither one of them really hit those rushing totals like I think that these two can, especially with this offensive line improving as it has. It's with the offensive line coach coming in. This line has a chance to be something special, growing into its britches, and these running backs the same thing. And then to round it all out is one of those guys on that line that we don't give nearly enough credit to that we should, Mason McCormick.
You keep taking my guys, Corey.
That's right. That's right. I mean, if a team is built through the trenches, I want a guy with some nasty like this guy is. And we've heard
he could have been taken a lot sooner too in this.
Absolutely. We've heard tons of great things from social media and from the coaching staff out of camp. I expect great things from this dude in year 3, year 4, year 3. I think it's year 3.
3 for him. Yep.
I expect great things from year 3 from Mason McCormick. Especially for his draft pedigree, where he came from. Like I'm totally ecstatic to get him to 22.
Yeah. He was going to be my next guy. And now that you took him, I have a little bit of a dilemma here personally, because I really like what we've seen from both players here. I'm going to take number 95, my boy Keanu Benton here. I think he could have been taken earlier too.
That's a good spot.
Pass rush chops are really, really impressive. As a situational, like, interior pass rusher, I think he's about as good as you get outside of like the truly elite guys like Dexter Lawrence, Quinnen Williams, those kind of guys in the pass rush. But I don't know. Keanu Benton's really good. I'm going to take him with the next to last pick here. And Andrew, you've got the last one, man. I'm interested to see who you take here, because you could go with, like, the guy who's going to rotate in maybe more in the secondary. You could go with a young up-and-comer, or a guy who's not projected for a starting role yet but might get one. We have one starter that we have not yet mentioned on this show, so we'll see where it goes. Andrew, what you got?
Man, I'm gonna kind of go with a surprise one here. I'm gonna go with Dylan Cook here because of the way that he played last year. I think, I know it's a small sample size, but he did everything that was asked of him, and I think that he performed nicely. There's a reason he's the top guy on the depth chart right now at right tackle. I mean, I think it should be his job to lose.
Yeah. So he was the last starter that we hadn't mentioned on the roster, and I think
Boswell.
Say what?
Should have put Boswell in there.
Yeah, just missed. This was like not specialists. We didn't have them on the board necessarily, but that's a good way to round it out. I think, he doesn't get the flowers he deserved for how good he was last year. And he did get a lot of help. Darnell Washington helped him a lot, but he held his own in a couple matchups without Darnell as well. So obviously there's going to be some guys on our list that just missed. The guy I wanted to go with, and I was fighting between him and Keanu Benton, was Asante Samuel Jr., who's been lighting up camp. He deserves recognition here at the very least. Jack Sawyer could very well get on this list next year, I think, if he has a good year or a good offseason. Cole Holcomb is getting almost all of the linebacker 3 reps, and so I expect him to be utilized in a big way this year. He's a guy that could be considered. Are we too low on Roman Wilson after all the hype he's had coming out of camp that we haven't mentioned him yet? I think that might be a conversation for another day. He just hasn't earned it yet, right?
I had him as my last pick.
Okay. All right. So a good group. And as we do this, the roster's pretty good. Like, from at the top across the top 22 players, right? I would stack them up pretty highly from a starting group. Now, the quarterback, obviously, you don't want your quarterback to be the whatever it was, 19th guy picked, I think is where I took him, or something along those lines. 17th guy picked, but you don't want that in your roster.
I had him at 23.
Yeah, I think I took him at 16 is or 17, somewhere in that range. But yeah, that's not what you want. But overall, the roster looks really good. And there's some young pieces here to develop for the future. It's not all hopeless for the future. They just got to find that future quarterback, and we'll see how that plays out. But any final thoughts, guys? Andrew, what you got?
I think that when you look at the Steelers roster overall, it just makes you wonder, what is the ceiling of this team? Are they capable of more than what we're giving them credit for? When you look at the depth that this team has from top to bottom, it's a lot to put together all in one offseason, especially with a new coaching staff. But I do think the Steelers are going to surprise people during the regular season. I don't know how much it will equate to postseason success. But if the Steelers go out and win 11, 12 games during the regular season, it's really not going to surprise me. As low as I've been and as down as I have talked about the team recently, I really think they have that capability because of the talent on this roster. It's just a matter of, can they do it when it matters most?
I think the margin in this AFC between 9-8 and 11-6 is extremely small, and the Steelers are going to be riding that line very close all season. We'll see where they end up. Corey, any final thoughts from you?
The success of this team and how far they go is going to be about the rest of the team that we're not talking about. And I feel that that's where the Steelers have done their best work this offseason, building the depth that we haven't even gotten into and talked about in the show. But if you're talking about just these starting 24 guys, 22 guys with the extra two, there's only a handful of teams that I wouldn't put them up against. They've got a ton of talent, and now that they've got some new coaches and new schemes, let's line them up and see where they go. And I wouldn't be afraid to put the Steelers up against anybody.
Bleacher Report, who has some good like members of their writing staff and good analysts, but some other analysts that I don't care for as much. They ranked the Steelers roster as the 5th best roster in the league. That's a little rich for me, but when you go through an exercise like this, you start to feel
that's right
that this team is really well built across the board. My biggest challenge to them is how many blue chippers do you have anymore? Because we used to like it's TJ, it's Cam, it's it used to be Roethlisberger. It was kind of rotating in receivers and stuff like that. How many blue chippers do you have anymore? I think it might only be one in Cam, and the rest are kind of just like really good pieces, but not elite pieces anymore. We'll see. Andrew, you have one more thought?
I was just going to say, again, credit to Omar Khan for being willing to bring in some guys that most people, if the Steelers would have done this during the time of Kevin Colbert, everyone would have poo-pooed on because, these are over 30 years old guys. Colbert would never do that because Colbert would never bring in anyone like that. But for a team that is, even though I don't agree with their philosophy of trying to win now, they are bringing in guys that can help them win now if they do indeed succeed.
Here's my problem with the way or with how they're building is that they're doing it right at every position, but they are transferring that thought process with every other position to the quarterback spot. And you can't do the same stuff at quarterback that you do with building out the rest of the roster. You can't round out the room with a veteran every year that is like, he gives us the best chance to win, so that's the guy we're going to play. You can't do that every year. You've got to ride with a young guy at some point. I know they tried it with Kenny Pickett, but Kenny Pickett scarred this franchise. He really did. And it's time for the rotation to start again, and you can't keep plugging the hole. And we've gone long, so we don't need to continue on that too much. But I think that's kind of where I stand with it. And I am rooting for this team. We get to see them first time action for the season here in preseason game 1 against the Green Bay Packers on Thursday. Excited for it. We'll be watching it together as we do a fantasy draft, sounds like. So Yinzer's ball is back, and we will be here for it all on the Steelers Fix. For Corey Ekenroth, For Corey Ekenroth and Andrew Wilbar, I'm Jeremy Betz. We'll talk to you in the next.
Go Steelers.